Experience life inside a medieval English castle, 24 hours in the Age of Knights. What if everything you believe about medieval existence is a carefully constructed illusion? What if the stone fortress before you contained more sophisticated systems than most modern buildings? What if a single rotation of the sun within these walls revealed a civilization more organized, more interconnected, more intentionally designed than any fantasy has ever portrayed? What if the silence of these abandoned ruins has concealed the most extraordinary choreography of human survival ever created? What if you could pierce through centuries and inhabit one complete day inside this breathing machine of civilization? The answers wait not in speculation, but in the precise rhythm that governed every hour, every task, every interaction within these walls. By the time darkness falls again, you will understand something that transcends historical curiosity. You will grasp how human beings transform raw survival into meaning, how they convert stone and wood into community, how they create order from the constant threat of chaos. The castle standing before you is not a monument to the past. For the next 24 hours, it lives. You position yourself at the base of the curtain wall as pre-dawn gray light creeps across the English countryside. The cold penetrates immediately, sharp enough to make your chest tighten with each breath. Frost coats every surface in the outer bailey, transforming ordinary grass into crystalline sculptures that crunch beneath your feet. Your fingertips touch the stone wall, and the texture tells a story of weathering, of countless seasons of rain and wind and ice wearing down what was once sharp and new. The cold radiating from the stone feels ancient and immediate simultaneously. This fortress bears no resemblance to the romantic castles of art and literature. This is a mechanism engineered for a single imperative: maintaining life against every form of threat the medieval world could generate. The wall soars 40 feet above your position, thick enough that 6 armed men could march side by side along its top without crowding. Murder holes perforate the gateway overhead, dark apertures designed to rain down destruction on anyone attempting forced entry. The portcullis hangs suspended, its iron teeth poised to drop and seal this entrance within seconds of alarm. You pass beneath the gateway, and the acoustic environment transforms completely. Outside, sound dispersed across open landscape, diluted by distance and wind. Inside, everything concentrates. Stone surfaces bounce every noise back upon itself, creating an intimate acoustic signature. Your footsteps generate echoes that announce your presence to the entire ward. Somewhere in the distance, a dog's bark reverberates off stone. A heavy wooden door opens and closes with a boom that carries. The castle is emerging from night suspension, and you are about to witness the intricate transformation that converts sleeping stone into functioning civilization. The eastern horizon shifts through its spectrum of awakening, from black through navy through violet into pale gold. Inside the great hall, servants are already executing the morning's opening choreography. You hear them before visual confirmation arrives, the shuffle of feet on dried rushes that carpet the floor, the clatter of wooden vessels being organized, the subdued murmur of voices coordinating initial tasks. The hall extends nearly 100 feet in length, with a vaulted ceiling that disappears into shadows, even as light begins filtering through the elevated windows. Tapestries line the stone walls, serving dual purpose as insulation against cold and acoustic dampening that makes conversation possible in this reverberant space. The central hearth is being resurrected. A young servant, perhaps 10 years old, kneels in yesterday's ashes, carefully selecting embers that retain sufficient heat. He constructs a pyramid of kindling around these glowing fragments, his movements displaying the confidence of repeated practice. Within minutes, flames begin their upward dance, and the hall's character shifts. Heat propagates outward in expanding waves, pushing back the cold that has accumulated through the night hours. The scent of burning wood, clean and sharp, permeates the space. This fire will burn continuously for the entire day. It will be fed, monitored, protected, because in a world without convenient ignition, fire represents precious security. Allowing it to die means hours of labor to regenerate it, striking flint against steel until a spark finally catches in prepared tinder. You observe as the household begins assembling. These are not yet the noble family members. Those will appear later. These are the people who transform the castle from inert structure into operational entity. The steward who manages all provisions and supplies, the marshal who oversees the stables and animals, the butler who controls the wine and ale stores, the chamberlain who maintains the lord's private quarters, the cook and his subordinate team, the laundresses, the grooms, the pages, the squires training for knighthood. Each individual possesses a specific function, and each function interlocks with dozens of others to create the seamless operation of this contained city. The kitchen occupies a separate structure, connected to the great hall by a covered walkway. This separation is deliberate rather than accidental. Medieval kitchens are roaring infernos, hazardous spaces where grease fires can erupt with minimal warning. By isolating the kitchen, the castle protects its most crucial gathering space, the hall where the community convenes, from the perpetual risk of conflagration. You enter the kitchen and immediately comprehend why it stands apart. 3 massive hearths dominate the interior, each large enough to accommodate a standing man. Fires blaze in all 3 simultaneously, and the temperature is almost intolerable. Perspiration forms instantly across your skin. The head cook, a substantial man with forearms like tree trunks, directs his team with the precision of a military commander. One hearth manages the baking, with bread loaves already browning in the intense heat. Another roasts meat on rotating spits, fat dripping and hissing on the coals beneath. The third boils enormous cauldrons of water for pottage, the thick stew that will sustain dozens of people throughout the day. The cook tastes continuously. He dips a wooden spoon into the pottage, blows across the surface to reduce the scalding temperature, touches it to his tongue. His expression registers evaluation, calculation, decision. More salt, different herbs. He signals to an assistant, who moves to comply immediately. This is not casual food preparation. This is mathematics translated into nutrition. The castle houses approximately 200 people on an ordinary day, significantly more when the lord entertains guests or musters troops. Every meal must adequately feed this population, must extend available provisions across weeks and months, must balance nutritional requirements with preservation techniques with palatability. Depleting food stores is not merely an inconvenience. It represents a crisis capable of destabilizing everything the castle embodies. Check if you are already subscribed to this channel, because what you are discovering will fundamentally alter how you comprehend the medieval world, and you will want to remain connected when we reveal the insights that historians seldom discuss. The sun has cleared the horizon completely now, and the castle has transitioned into its morning operational rhythm. In the outer bailey, the blacksmith's hammer produces steady percussion. You cross the courtyard toward the metallic ringing, traversing a landscape of coordinated activity. Grooms lead horses from the stables, hooves striking cobblestones in rhythmic patterns. Chickens scatter before your approach, pecking at invisible treasures in the packed earth. A cat observes from a windowsill, entirely indifferent to the human activity below. The smell of animal waste mingles with wood smoke, with baking bread, with the green scent of countryside beyond the walls. The smithy resembles a cave of controlled fire. The forge glows orange, white at its core, and the blacksmith manipulates metal with a combination of force and precision that seems contradictory. He heats an iron bar until it achieves luminescence, then hammers it against the anvil, each strike producing a perfect rhythmic ring. The metal bends, spreads, assumes new form under the blows. He is manufacturing horseshoes today, a task that never reaches completion because horses wear through shoes constantly. And a castle without functioning horses is a castle severed from the wider world. The blacksmith simultaneously serves as the primary weapons maintainer. Swords hang on the walls awaiting attention. Armor requires repair. The portcullis mechanism demands constant adjustment to ensure it will drop smoothly when necessity arrives. He is part craftsman, part engineer, part guardian of the castle's defensive capability. Without his skills, the entire military function of this fortress degrades rapidly. You notice the apprentice in the corner, working a smaller anvil, practicing the fundamental strikes that will require years to master. The blacksmith does not observe him directly, but you recognize he is listening to the rhythm of the boy's hammer, evaluating the quality of each blow by sound alone. In the great hall, breakfast is being distributed. This is not a singular moment, but a rolling process that accommodates the various ranks and schedules within the castle. The highest nobility will eat later, in the private solar upstairs. But the household staff, the guards, the working population of the castle, they eat now, efficiently, before the day's labor intensifies. You sit at one of the long trestle tables and receive your portion. Bread, cheese, ale. The bread is coarse, dark, substantial. The cheese is sharp and slightly crumbly. The ale is weak, intended for consumption in quantity, because the water, even from the castle's well, cannot always be trusted. This ale has been brewed carefully, boiled during the process, making it safer than raw water. You understand, consuming this simple meal, that food here is not about pleasure. It is fuel. It is survival compressed into calories and nutrients. The bread will provide energy for hours of physical labor. The cheese supplies fat and protein. The ale hydrates without risk. This meal has been calculated across generations, refined through trial and error into the most efficient method of keeping a working population functional. As the morning advances, you climb the spiral staircase to the upper levels. The stairs twist rightward as you ascend, and this is not arbitrary. A defender descending these stairs would have his sword arm, his right arm, free to swing with full range of motion. An attacker climbing upward would find his sword arm pressed against the central column, restricted, disadvantaged. Every detail in this castle is intentional. Every element serves multiple purposes simultaneously. The Lord Solar is a revelation of medieval luxury. It is not expansive, perhaps 20 feet square, but it is warm, private, filled with morning light from windows that face south. Cushions soften the wooden benches. A small brazier provides supplemental heat. The walls are plastered and painted with simple geometric patterns. This is where the Lord conducts the business of managing his lands, where he meets with his steward to review accounts, where he settles disputes among his tenants, where he plans for the seasons ahead. Leave a comment right now saying exactly this. I understand now why the medieval world was not Dark Ages, and let me know you are following this journey through time. The midday sun stands directly overhead when you step onto the ramparts. The view from this elevation is staggering. You can see for miles in every direction. To the east, fields stretch in long strips, some already showing the green emergence of winter wheat beginning to grow. To the west, forest forms a dark boundary at the horizon. To the north and south, you can identify villages, tiny clusters of buildings connected to this castle by roads that are barely more than mud tracks. The guards on duty here are not standing at rigid attention. They are leaning against the battlements, talking in subdued voices, occasionally scanning the landscape with practiced eyes. Their responsibility is not to stand perfectly motionless. Their responsibility is to notice anything unusual, a column of dust that might indicate riders approaching, smoke rising from an unexpected location, the movement of people in patterns that do not fit the normal rhythms of agricultural life. One of the guards is fletching arrows, sitting with his back against the sun-warmed stone, carefully attaching feathers to wooden shafts with thread and glue. He does this for hours, because a castle needs thousands of arrows in reserve. If this fortress comes under attack, archers will fire arrows constantly, hundreds per hour. Running out is not an option. You watch his hands, the way he aligns each feather with perfect precision, the way he tests the straightness of the shaft by rolling it across his palm, the way he adds each completed arrow to the bundle beside him. Below, in the ward, the daily market is in full operation. Local farmers and craftsmen have been permitted through the gates to sell their goods to the castle household. A woman displays eggs in a woven basket. A man offers fresh fish from the river. Another sells candles bundled in groups of 6. The castle's steward moves among them, assessing quality, negotiating prices, deciding what to purchase. This market is not merely commerce. It is the connection between the castle and the surrounding countryside, the exchange that makes both communities viable. The castle provides protection, justice, stability. The countryside provides food, materials, labor. Neither can survive without the other. Give this video a like if you are beginning to see how every element of medieval life was interconnected in ways that modern society has forgotten. The afternoon brings lessons in the courtyard. Young boys, sons of minor nobility sent here to learn the skills of knighthood, practice with wooden swords under the watchful supervision of the master-at-arms. They are not playing. They are learning techniques that will keep them alive in combat. The master-at-arms corrects their stance, adjusts the angle of their strikes, teaches them to read an opponent's body language for signs of the next move. These boys, some as young as 7, are years away from actual combat, but the training is relentless. They will practice these movements thousands of times, building muscle memory so profound that in the chaos of battle, their bodies will respond without conscious thought. Nearby, older squires practice archery. The longbow is the primary ranged weapon of English warfare, and learning to use it effectively requires years. A longbow has a draw weight exceeding 100 pounds. Pulling it requires not just arm strength, but full-body technique, using the back and core muscles to bring the string to full draw. The squires shoot at targets, their arrows forming loose clusters that gradually tighten as the afternoon progresses. You notice the castle chaplain emerging from the chapel, a small stone building tucked against the inner wall. He has been preparing for evening prayers, but he also serves other functions. He is the castle's primary record keeper, the man who can read and write Latin, who maintains the accounts and documents that make organized administration possible. He is also the spiritual advisor, the mediator in personal disputes, the teacher for children of the household. The chapel itself is simple but beautiful. Light filters through narrow windows, striking the altar and creating pools of luminescence in the dim interior. The smell of incense lingers from morning prayers. This space represents something beyond the physical survival that occupies so much of castle life. It represents the community's connection to something larger, to meaning, to continuity with the past and hope for the future. Share this video with someone who loves history, because what we are experiencing together is the reality behind the legends, and that reality is far richer than any fairy tale. As afternoon transitions to evening, the castle's energy shifts. The intensity of labor eases slightly. People who have been working since dawn take moments to rest, to sit in the last warmth of the sun, to converse with neighbors. In the kitchen, preparations for the evening meal have entered their final phase. The great hall is being arranged for supper. Trestle tables that were folded against the walls during the day are being erected in rows. Wooden trenchers, thick slices of stale bread that will serve as plates, are being placed at each position. Jugs of ale and wine are being positioned along the tables. The high table at the far end of the hall is receiving special attention, being covered with a linen cloth, set with actual pewter plates and metal cups. This is where the Lord and his family will sit, elevated above the rest of the household, both literally and symbolically. You take your place at one of the lower tables as people begin filling the hall. The noise level rises steadily, voices echoing off the stone walls, creating a wall of sound that feels almost physical. When the Lord enters, preceded by the steward carrying a ceremonial staff, the hall falls silent. Everyone stands. The Lord takes his place at the high table, and only when he sits does everyone else sit. The chaplain says a brief prayer, and then the meal begins. Food arrives in waves from the kitchen. Pottage in wooden bowls, thick with vegetables and bits of meat. Roasted fowl on large platters to be shared among groups of diners. Fish, both fresh and preserved. More bread, cheese, fruit preserved in honey. The quantity is staggering, but this is not waste. Anything not consumed tonight will be repurposed tomorrow. Bread becomes trenchers or thickens pottage. Bones become broth. Scraps feed the castle's animals. Nothing is lost. The meal is social adhesive. People eat together, talk together, share food from common dishes. Disputes are set aside. Hierarchies are acknowledged but softened by the shared experience of satisfying hunger. You watch the Lord at the high table, noticing that he eats moderately, speaks frequently with those around him, seems more concerned with the social function of the meal than the food itself. This is leadership in the medieval context. Not standing apart, but being present, visible, part of the collective life while still maintaining the distinction of rank that makes order possible. As darkness falls completely outside, the hall becomes an island of light and warmth in the cold night. The fire in the central hearth blazes high. Torches in wall brackets add their flickering illumination. Someone produces a lute, and music begins. Simple melodies that people know by heart. Some sing along, others listen. A few clear a space and dance. Movements that are more rhythmic stamping than the refined dances of later centuries. You realize that this is the castle's true purpose made manifest. Not the military function, though that remains essential. Not the administrative organization, though that enables everything else. The castle's deepest purpose is this: to create a space where community can survive the isolation, the danger, the uncertainty of medieval life. These walls do not just keep enemies out, they hold people together. The evening gradually winds down. People begin drifting away to their sleeping quarters. Some sleep in the hall itself, rolling out pallets on the floor near the fire. Others have rooms in various buildings around the ward. The lord and his family retire to their private chambers upstairs. Guards change shifts on the walls. The castle never fully sleeps, but it does quiet, settling into the minimal activity of night watch. You stand once more in the courtyard under a sky filled with stars. The Milky Way stretches overhead in a river of light impossible to see in the modern world with its artificial illumination. The silence is profound, broken only by the occasional bark of a dog, the hoot of an owl somewhere beyond the walls, the distant sound of the guards on the ramparts walking their patrol. You have traveled through a complete cycle of life in this fortress. You have seen how dawn brings purposeful awakening, how morning explodes into coordinated labor, how midday marks the peak of activity, how afternoon teaches the next generation, how evening gathers everyone together, how night returns the castle to watchful rest. But you have also seen something deeper. You have seen how human beings, faced with a harsh world, create systems of extraordinary complexity to survive and thrive. You have seen how physical structures shape social relationships. You have seen how repetition, far from being meaningless, becomes the foundation of stability. You have seen how hierarchy, often criticized in modern times, provided clear roles that allowed hundreds of people to coordinate without constant conflict. You have seen how every element, from the direction of a staircase to the position of the kitchen, reflects generations of accumulated wisdom. The medieval castle is not a primitive precursor to modern life. It is a complete civilization in miniature, a solution to the problem of human survival that worked for centuries. It balanced military necessity with economic reality, with social need, with spiritual longing. It created beauty alongside utility. It preserved culture while defending against chaos. If you watched until here, it means you truly appreciated this journey through time. Check if you are already subscribed to this channel, because we will continue exploring the hidden sophistication of historical worlds that textbooks simplify. Leave a comment saying exactly, "I watched until here," so that I can meet you and know who really appreciates the stories on this channel. Give this video a like if this experience changed how you see the medieval world. Share it with friends who think history is boring, and show them that the past is more alive, more complex, more relevant than they ever imagined. The stone walls around you hold centuries of human experience. Every block was lifted by hands like yours. Every room was filled with voices, laughter, arguments, prayers. Every day was a testament to the refusal to surrender to darkness, cold, hunger, fear. The castle stands because people chose to build it, maintain it, live within it, make it mean something more than survival. That choice echoes across the centuries, reaching you now.